Hey everybody, it's Bust with Expedition Trial number 232. If my sound settings are messed up, I apologize. If we blow you out with these sweet sounds, then it's unfortunate. It's not my intention, but I got a new setup, and so things take a bit of time to get sorted. I gave it a few test goes, and so it seems like it should be reasonable, but I don't know. So if your ears are getting blown out, I'm sorry. Turn it turn it down to a 3 instead of a 10 today. But nonetheless, let's get this moving. And so, like, at least with this pack, like, all of these are reasonable. Of course, the Riven is fine. This is a pretty bad Riven start. We really just play Riven for the Reforges, and I don't really like a lot of the themes that live in Riven outside of the Reforges. Like Crimson Disciple just doesn't really do anything on synergy. Wrathful Rider does to a degree, but she's just so bad on her own that it's not something I really like to pursue. But it's still a fantastic card pool. Just the four Reforged cards, the Riven, the Last Breath one drop, the Rune Forger, and then the Weapon Hilt, all very, very powerful cards. So we're going to take one of these other two. I don't want to be playing Monkey Business. This card is horrible. It's one of the worst cards in the game. So I'd really prefer not to be playing with Monkey Business. And so that kind of leaves us to just down here taking the Braum, which I'm pretty okay with. When it comes to Braum, the way I like to pursue this Battle Scars kind of theme, if you're not familiar with what Battle Scars is, you're doing damage to your own units to get some kind of advantage. And so it does pair up with Noxus. You can see it with the Crimson Disciple. If the Crimson Disciple will take some damage, you get a little bonus in doing damage to your opponents. Out of Freylord, you're doing it with either things like Braum or the Trolls. They all have Regenerate. So the idea being you play Avalanche, kill some stuff, deal damage to your own units, but then they heal the damage back with the regenerates. And then there's some units that just have tough. There's some of the activators that deal damage to kind of everything. It's pretty reasonable. And so I think this is what we'll end up taking here. Maybe we'll find a Riven on the back end because I do really like this kind of Battle Scars theme. When it's just paired up with Riven. I don't like it paired up with Vladimir or Swain. I don't think those themes are particularly good. But, with Riven, if we're able to give like a Braum a +2 attack or give a quick attack to one of our wolf challengers or something. There's a lot of cool plays that we can make with these Reforges. But we're going to take the Braum here and see how this plays out. So let's get it pulled up on the site. If you're not familiar with the site, it's ftpbus.com. We're over here in the Expedition Helper section. This is what the main page takes you to. We're just going to go to the little drop-down thing, scroll down to Braum, click on Battle Scars, and this will give us all of the cards that live in this card pool. And so, yeah, in general, if we're really looking to just do the Battle Scars theme, you're going to get the self-damage ideally from Avalanche. We really don't want to play a whole lot of early plays that are just going to get blown out by AoEs, but we'll look towards Avalanche, then we can, to a lesser degree, look for Ember Maidens. But those are really the only ways that you can be dealing self-damage out of Freylord. You can't really count on finding things like Tarkaz or things like Icequake or Trundlequake, whatever you prefer to call it. It's really just going to be stuck to Avalanche and Ember Maiden if you're wanting to target your own units. But yeah, really, otherwise, the payoff for the self-damage thing is the Trolls. There's Braum, Troll Ravager, can Behold into Regenerate, and then there's Augur of the Old Ones that just starts with it, and then the Scar Maiden Reaver down here at 5. So, these Braum decks tend to really turn into is you're probably not going to play anything in the first couple turns. You might find a Stalking Wolf, you might find an Avarosian Sentry, whatever. The early part of the curve just doesn't really happen too much. And then from turn 3 forward, you'll be trying to start out with like Mighty Poros into Braum, into Trolls, and really get things moving from there. So it is, pretty reasonable just to kind of give up the early game, try to recover with Avalanches and Ember Maidens, and then just build up a big board that your opponent can't deal with all of your stats. So that's the way you kind of tend to look at this. It has pretty good mid game, pretty good late game. Then it doesn't really have any ways to interact. It just has some of these bad combat tricks. Elixir of Iron isn't bad, but it's a combat trick, and then you'll find things like Bloodsworn Pledge, which is on the bad side of things. So there's no removal spells here. There's no Frostbites here. It's just health boosting combat tricks. And then again, there's no real early game. There's a touch of mid game. We don't see things like the Yeti generators. It's just, you know, got to find some units with some butt to them. Some big boys is all this pool really has. No interaction, no early game. So let's see what gets paired up with this Braum. We're going to see a Nexus, so maybe we'll just get our Riven on the backside. It didn't show up, but this is kind of interesting. I'm trying to think how recently we just drafted this Blood on the Ice. I know it wasn't our most recent draft, but it's been pretty recently. But we had it from the Ashe side of things and not necessarily from Darius. This is fine. This is a good pairing between Braum and Darius. This tends to just turn into an Overwhelms deck. Just try to hit an Overwhelm unit all throughout the curve, and then our late game just typically closes out the game in like 1 or 2 attacks. So this is all in all pretty reasonable, probably what we'll be taking here. I don't want to pair Shyvana up with Freylord. She's really either needs to be in like an Allegiance style deck, or she has to be paired with Targon if you want to get the full extent of the dragons. Because I think, you know, there's 2 really good dragons, 2 things that make me want to play a dragon build around. It's the 4/5 Challenger, which does live in Demacia, but then the strong one, like what I feel like is the real closer that feels kind of like a 7-drop, is the Spell Shield unit, and you have to be in Targon to find the 5/5 Fury Spell Shield. And so I'm not a huge fan of pairing this up with Braum. And then kind of the same thing down here with Shen. Shen's real payoff comes from having a bunch of Challenger units. And there are some here. There's, you know, the 3/2 Wolf for 2, and then the Frostbite Challenger Wolf at 3. But that's really the only payoff. And just the first one lives here in this Braum pool. And so if you're not in Demacia and getting Challengers, he really needs to be paired up with either one of the collective support champions, either Lulu or Taric. And that's just, you know, not what we've put together. So it does feel like we're just going to get kind of stuck in here with this Braum. We'll see if we can't find some good interactions along the way. But this, in my opinion, tends to turn out pretty okay. These arenas are pretty reasonable in these kind of decks. We'll hopefully be able to find some Frostbites to go along with it. And then the Overwhelm units just tend to be really powerful. So let me take a moment and get this pulled up. This shouldn't go as well as the Ashe run did previously. We can kind of show you why here, where we had Blood on the Ice Darius. Cool. And so, yeah, on the there's kind of 2 things going on with this pool. It has, you know, of course, the build around to Noxcria Arena. The idea with this is that we're going to be using Frostbites to give one of our opponent's units 1 attack, and then our biggest boy's not going to have much trouble combating their 0 attack unit. And then the upside to that as well is you kind of get to pick the unit that you're wanting to take down. You're not just taking down their really weak guys. You get to kind of pick the big one that you want to remove. And so you're using the Freylord for Frostbites, but you know, the problem kind of number 1 here is Darius doesn't really have any Frostbites in his pool, so we'll have to find them out of like synergy picks and wild picks elsewhere. And then problem number 2 here is this does build to this 5 attack matters theme. You're supposed to be using Trifarian Assessor and the Reckoning. You have these 5 attack units, and then you can go and, you know, murder the board with the Reckoning without having your guys die. It's not something that Braum typically plays well to. Braum just dies to the Reckoning when you're not really looking to kill your own champions with this kind of thing. And this is meant to be played with like Ashe and the Yetis. And so, you know, a lot of the themes are meant to be played together. This is a Freylord pairing with this Blood on the Ice, but the payoff doesn't really exist. And so what's going to be kind of awkward here is, you know, the payoff that we're looking for are the mid to late game Overwhelms, and the only one that lives here is Armored Elephant. We really want to be on the Nox and Might side of Darius, where you'll see that's where we have Iron Ballista. There should be, I think this might have the big Trifarian, the Savage Reckoner. Doesn't appear to be here, but you know, the Savage Reckoner is you know, kind of one of these big units we're looking for. It's just the cards that play well to this strategy. Something that we typically do with, say, like Sejuani Darius or Sejuani Draven, I think has a few of the Overwhelms, but you know, this is where we're kind of wanting to be, and so maybe we can pull this off. Maybe after a few picks, the game will kind of recognize what we're trying to do here, and we can make this happen. Otherwise, you know, I just think rolling the dice with this Darius and kind of having to trade into a real deck is better than just starting with one of these and having to hit. You can't really just build around Shen, so I think we can ignore him. You can build around Shyvana, but we'd have to decide really early if we want to build towards Shyvana or build towards Braum. And then at least with this Darius pool, we have some build around potential. So I think this will leave us and have the most potential for success here. Okay, so let's see here. Like, I'm not excited about anything that's really happening here. I don't want to delve into Bilgewater. We can. This raiding party pair. This is the Sejuani Gangplank pairing. The way that this is supposed to go is you're using the Overwhelm units to level up your Sejuani. But I don't feel like this is something we really need to pursue. I think we have enough going on here between having Noxcria Arena and some of these Battle Scars themes to where I don't really want to be adding in another theme. So I would like to have Sejuani. Sejuani is better than both Braum and Darius, but I don't want to add in like another thing that we could be doing. So I'm going to take the Saboteur and the Yeti. I'm typically not a fan of the Yeti. Like, this is an extremely weak unit, but I don't want to go for these Battle Scars cards. I don't think the payoff on this style of Battle Scars is high enough. You know, Crimson Curator is the big build-around card out of Noxus, so you're looking to just deal some self-damage to the Crimson Curator. You add these Crimsons to your hand. You might even get lucky and spike a Crimson Curator off your Curator hits, and then you can really just build up a big engine of card advantage here. It's not good enough anymore. It was kind of okay in Foundations only. It was reasonable in the Rising Tides, and now it's just kind of like, oh, I can play Invoke. You know, I can play Invoke and probably either just pick a game winner or pick a card that's relevant now, or I can play this Crimson Curator and just generate a whole bunch of shitty units over and over again. And so this engine just tends to not be good enough anymore. So we're not excited for the Yeti, but this tends to be what's going to play towards our themes. Okay, all right. Well, if there's a theme that I want to play towards, I am okay with this this kind of 5 attack matters theme. As far as our units go, we're kind of on track with that, at least, you know, between Yeti, Darius, Wrathful Rider being able to do that. And then this does have a removal spell in Whirling Death, which is this style of deck's big weakness, right? We can typically pick up some combat tricks, whether or not, you know, it's Elixir of Irons or like the things that give +3/+4, whatever. Like, there's Freylord combat tricks, there's Noxus combat tricks. We'll find something, even if it's just flash freezes, but the removal spells just don't exist. There's Whirling Death and there's Calling Strike, and so I would like to go out of our way to at least pick up a handful of these Whirling Deaths. Okay, speaking of combat tricks, Elixir of Wrath is a fantastic one. Plays, you know, pretty well with things like Braum. It's such a cheap cost to get, but these Icy Yetis are horrible. And so I don't think I want to pick up a second Trifarian Assessor. Well, I would be okay with it if it was like Trifarian Assessor, Whirling Death, or if it was like the Assessor with a cheap unit. At the Stairs is not a unit that I really want to have in our deck. It's very easy for us to get a lot of top end. You know, and then if we don't have enough top end, we can always just take more Darius. It's just not a unit. Kind of my initial assessment with this guy, and what I still stick with experience, is, you know, when we're playing these big expensive cards, they need to be doing something to move us right towards winning the game. And you get that out of things like Usgar, you get that out of Savage Reckoner. Pretty much every epic that costs 7 or 8 mana, they if they don't win the game immediately, they would win it within a turn or two. This guy does not help in any of those kind of matters. And so, man, we're gonna Icy Yeti this up. It's not something I'm super stoked to be seeing, but it's what we've done. And okay, with these, I do love an Avarosian Outriders, but we're not going to be anywhere near being able to allegiance this, so we're going to be stuck with the Trapper and the Bull Elnic. These do at least play towards the 5 attack matters theme, at least with the Trapper. The Elnic is a reasonable unit, even though we won't be drafting the Elnic's deck, and I think these are at least, they build us towards what Braum is good at doing. So I mean, if we want to like stop and kind of like assess where we're at, I think, you know, our curve looks okay. We would like to pick up another removal spell or something. We've only seen one Frostbite, so we're going to have to kind of ignore this this arena theme, and I would kind of like to build towards the 5 attack matters theme. So maybe we can try to find another Assessor. They're rare, so they're kind of hard to come across, but we're going to just be kind of in this like mid-rangey, big stat dude style of deck. So that's what we're going to get out of this Trapper and the Wolf as well. At least we get a bit of interaction with the Wolf, and I'm a huge fan of these Trappers. They're just pretty good in Expedition. So, you know, usually comes down trades with something, and then what we tend to see as a problem with this style of deck is, you know, we're going to try to like curve into Braum, into an Assessor, into a Darius, into a Yeti, and when we do things like that, we find it hard to actually play 2 spells in a turn. So if we want to play a combat trick and a unit, it's pretty hard to do unless that combat trick costs 1 mana. And kind of the same thing applies with these enraged Yetis. You know, it might be turn 6, and then if we have to drop down in the curve by 1 mana to play a 5-drop, that tends to be okay. And then we can slot in a Yeti well, then that's very good. The thing that we just don't want to be seeing happen is it's that same turn 6, we spend 3 mana on a Whirling Death and then just can't play any more cards. And so it's one of the big values we get out of these enraged Yetis. Okay, with this, I believe I want the Brothers Bond Legion Drummer. The Brothers Bond doesn't tend to play like super well in these decks, but it does play well with Braum. And then I do like having the Legion Drummer for our early game challengers, whether or not it's Braum, where you know it doesn't really apply because he rarely has attack, but Rhymefang Wolf, the 2-cost challenger from Freylord, and then the 5/1 challenger out of Noxus. Just this early game interaction is pretty good. Give us something to where we can kind of pick and choose what we can do to our opponent's cards before we just try to start winning with stats. Okay, these cards are turdy. So we're certainly not in this Overwhelm stack, which is where I would like to be. We just haven't seen any of them, and that kind of is what it is. But you know, we're really wanting to have a bunch of Iron Ballistas and Mighty Poros, and then even some of the 2-drop Freylord units, and then just a little bit of top end. Like, we prefer all of our expensive dudes to just have Overwhelm. You know, if we could trade these Yetis out for Alpha Wild Claws, I would be pretty stoked with how the Overwhelm theme looks here. But these are going to be the best ones. I don't like Trifarian Shieldbreaker. I think this unit is pretty weak, but it's way better than Call of the Wild or Tall Tales, right? You know, we would be happy to have either Archer, Sentry, or Ballista. They're all relatively close in power. We don't have any like full build-around themes to where we really want any of these, but we most certainly don't want Tall Tales. We most certainly don't want Call of the Wild. Excuse me. So I'm going to just take the one with the playable card in it. Oh, Kato, you're a different story. This is the easy way to give all of our dudes Overwhelm. I wish we could have some weapon hilts. I would really love it if our early game was just filled out with Reforges, but it's not the way it played out. Okay, alright, so I think we can at least call ourselves to be this 5 attack matters theme. Picking up a second Assessor is pretty good. We should be able to draw at a minimum 1 card anytime we want to play this. Shouldn't be too hard to draw 2, and then it also has our second Whirling Death in it. I would like to pick up this Trapper as well, but this is at least kind of like the core of the cards that we're looking for here, just kind of a hit across the board. And then with these, I would like to pick up the Scorched Earth. If you've been kind of familiar with my recent work, I really do a whole lot of bitching about the Grand Plaza, and this at least gives us a way to deal with that and a way to kind of conditionally deal with another unit. You know, we're not going to be able to pull off Frostbite plus Calling Strikes, and so you know, if we at least have damage on our opponent's unit, that gives us a way to take it down. The big problem here is the Demolitionist doesn't play well with any of the cards that we have right now, but I think this will be okay. Certainly going to be better than picking up Apprehend. Okay, this one's kind of interesting. I do really love having one of these 5 attack cards, whether or not it's Intimidating Roar, Shunpo, Decisive Maneuvers. They're all fine. They all do kind of the same thing. You just play it and win the game. I do tend to prefer Decisive Maneuvers if we're playing like a Darius deck, because you can just Decisive Maneuvers what they put in front of Darius and then just chunk them for 12 damage. But Shunpo should give us kind of the same thing. The Sentry Elnick is also a good pile, but I like the early game interaction with this Glory Seeker as well. Okay, alright, so a second Legion Drummer and a Weapon Hilt is going to be good. I don't like Blade's Edge unless we're playing multiple ways to take advantage of it. It doesn't do enough. It doesn't kill enough on its own. We need to be playing with something like Sejuani to where we can get double value out of this, or use this to activate Plunder or activate something. Just on its own is not good enough. Then we're going to be two non-Allegiant for Basilisk Riders. So Legion Drummer, at least we did pick up another challenger for him, or for her. Then the Weapon Hilt is at least one way to get some Reforges. And this one's interesting. I always like having a Rime Tusk Shaman in this kind of deck, especially when we have the Arena. Just a big 1-2 punch with the Arena. That's something I think I'm okay with taking here. It doesn't like directly give you card advantage, which is what our deck has problems with. But you know, it's kind of a virtual card advantage card, and so it really pays off in time, even though it doesn't, you know, actually just like draw cards or kill things. I don't think, like, I'm just not a huge fan of this Avalanche. Kills a lot of our own early game. And then the Guillotine would be, you know, a reasonable source of card advantage, but we don't have a lot of early game plays. I like to have a lot of early game plays to where our opponent kind of wears down on our board, and then they have like 2 or 3 units that have damage on them, and then we can kind of clean it up. What tends to happen with these decks is things just trade, or our opponents are dealing the damage to our units. And so it's like we put Enraged Yeti on the board, they take 2 turns to kill it. That just puts us on like the wrong side of Guillotine being good. So I'm going to come in and pick up this Shaman. Okay. Yeah, let's get to it. Oh no! Oh man! Whew, that was close. That was close. We got to go and make our premium. We're starting to get like filled out on these. I know we've done Trapper. Are any of these so common? Man, we're gonna have to start either just picking bad cards or paying out the monies, aren't we? So, what's left here? Let's level up Legion Drummer if we haven't done so already. I'm pretty sure that's going to be a new one. Yeah, it's the Prismatic. Cool. You gotta do the units first, because these come down on the board and hang out for a while, so you get the double value, right? If we go and level up Elixir of Wrath, we're the only ones that get to enjoy it. But if we level up the permanents, then our opponents get to, you know, they get to share in what we're bringing to the party. So cool. And yeah, again, I apologize. Like, I try to look at like the settings on OBS and see if like the sound levels looked what they used to be, or at least what I thought they used to be. It seems like they're in the same kind of threshold to where they used to live. And so if it's too loud, I apologize. Okay, this hand's a bit of a turd. Let's at least keep this Reckless Trifarian and then look for some more early game plays. Oh man, and I forgot to get LOR Guardian. I'm gonna have to go and I'll go and fetch that up after this game. Uh-oh, Pesky Spectre. I don't think the guy got the memo on how horrible this one is. But guess it doesn't matter if you're just gonna play the Grand Plaza on 3. Here, I'm just gonna go ahead and run out the Demolitionist. We don't have any combos with this other than Braum, and so I'd rather just go ahead and get the units on the board. Oh man, adding Pesky Spectres to your hand? Oh snap, we might draw one of those this game. Sure. I think we're safe to just take it. Like, I don't want to be putting a damage on our 3 health units when we're about to attack into a 2 healther. So it's not playing Callista. I was thinking, like, if he has one of these kind of early game plays that you typically see in Demacia Shadow Isles, then we might want to drop the Wolf here. But it seems like it's going to be tough for him to have a card that we really want to challenge down. No, that's not one of them. I know what my problem is I gotta adjust the overall game sound. That's what my it's like. This seems so loud in my headset. It's like I've got all my settings the same, but it's this game sound where the problem is. All right, you guys are gonna have to be adjusting your volume up and down the whole time. You're welcome. Okay. I mean, I'm pretty cool with just trying to throw this Wrathful Rider in front of Garen. It's pretty tough for him to have like a removal for it. And then if his play is like Prismatic Barrier, then we're just kind of in the same spot. So I think this is okay. Sure. Nothing we can do about that. He only has 1 mana now, so he's gonna have to have like a Radiant Strike if he wants to survive, like kill us with this Garen. So I think I'm pretty okay with just like throwing Trapper in front and playing the Elixir. But I don't want to be coming at him with just exactly 5 damage in case he has Radiant Strike or Tough Giver or something. I want to ensure that we get this kill on Garen. Is this like a turn where we ever get to Shunpo? I don't think so. I think this is probably going to be one of these games to where like we try to Shunpo on his turn. Although I mean his board is pretty horrible here. I'm not excited about that. Sure, all the value.
Strike at their foundations.
What do we do? Go ahead and add the Spectre. I was just seeing that like he's just gonna block it with the Chronicler, but I think if he blocks it with Chronicler, we're still pretty okay with that. This doesn't change anything. Let's actually shuffle the Yetis in instead of giving him a last breath now. This goes here? Sure.
Just leave me alone! I want to go home!
Okay. Then I guess, you know, as well, the other thing we could look to build towards is just making a Icy Yeti Shunpo play. Depends on what he adds to the board here, but we'll have the... Well, no, we won't have the non-mana built up on our next attack. We'll only have 8. Bit unfortunate. But, I mean, if his big play is Cursed Keeper, it feels like we're pretty good. I think if he's just adding Chronicler of Ruins or Ethereal Remitters or whatever, it's pretty okay. Sure. This is still fine. Do nothing. That's very strange. I'm very suspect of that. But
Our ancestors are watching.
Sure.
I fight for the fallen.
Radiant's a bit annoying.
To command.
I'm worried we can't ever get a kill here.
Strike for justice.
We can put a bunch of damage on her, but we're gonna have to fight through this. Like the options we have are to say like Shunpo and then Rhymefang Wolf her way down on the end. Well, I guess if it comes to it, we can just like block this way and then Shunpo the Radiant. which I do kind of like. So he's still going to gain 4, but we should have a pretty big blowout of an attack here if we're able to. Like, he's probably going to play something here. Given how this game's gone, I would imagine it's probably just some kind of like 3-3. Oh, fuck, that was our plans. Very surprised he would look that way. Interesting line. He chose to gain the health instead of draw a card. Oh, it was to pick up a second Radiant. Oh, this game just got bad fast. Okay. I thought he might have next leveled us there, but it just turns out he had missed call. So, all right. So it's just going to take us actual forever to win via combat. So I don't know if our late game's actually going to be better than this guy's. Like, the two problems we have is our late game's probably not better than his. It might be, but there's, I don't know, I'm not like sold that it's going to be better. And then problem 2 is we just have to deal so much damage. Sure. Okay. But I don't think we have any kind of valuable attack here. The only unit we could reasonably attack with is with our enraged Yeti. I'm just not particularly excited about the prospects of that.
We will not hesitate.
I don't think this is bad. We have blocks like this at the worst. It takes 7, which isn't a huge deal. And we have to Shunpo post-combat to try to take down this Lucian. And then we do at least have a hook to try to take down 1 Radiant. And it's not that great, but feels like we're at least getting like somewhere. I want to go ahead and Shunpo this now. I don't want him to have time to be like adding units to the board and playing stupid cards to get this Lucian to flip. Okay. Man, he's got all the cards. So there's no way this Rampant Wolf is gonna kill Lucian, right? He's just about to play a card for no reason. Well, let's take it. Let's get that card. Whatever his back-to-back or Sharp Sight or whatever he's gonna play is here. Black Spear, sure.
I have my orders.
Okay. Yeah, I can't imagine we ever win this game. We just don't have anything to take advantage of this board. Stands, if you're gonna attack again. Oh, here's our way to come back. Just draw a whole bunch of cards. I'm on board with that, but it's tough. It's tough, boys. Sure.
Line up.
Okay.
You will be scoured from this land. Banish the unworthy.
And no Lucian attack? Oh, you should not be attacking with Lucian here. Okay.
I know a challenge when I see one.
Let's take one of these things down here, and then we're going to Whirling Death with the other one to try to take down his Lucian. Should we just do it with the Assessor? Well, there's a lot of ways. If he plays like a back-to-back, we at least want it to be this way. He has... Did he kill a unit this turn? I can't remember how this was sequenced. So if he has like another Black Spear, that would be the argument for using the Assessor as our damage choice. Is that what the scribe made? Cool. That one's probably not good though. There's a lot of good hits with this thing. Yep. Okay.
It's a rain axe in our wake.
Get these big boys going. It's one of the downsides of Radiant only having 4 attack now. They used to have 5 attack. A lot of units they can't just take down. Do we want to go ahead and give Arcado Overwhelm? Probably not. So we're never getting kills here. This is just so much damage to have to try to punch through with these Radiants, but it's a start. Got another Assessor somewhere in these 15. We still got a Darius. Dealt with both of his champions. Oh, Rhymetusk Shaman's a big draw. Ooh.
You will be scoured from this land. Strike for justice. Moving into sight.
Oh boy, that's huge for us. That seems like an overly aggressive attack. Like if he plays something like a Mist's Call or something, I wouldn't be surprised. But it's pretty good for us. Now the got it. Nice. Not expect to win now. If you believe, you can achieve, boys. If you believe it, you can achieve it. So cool. Like ideally here, I'm just going to be taking Braums. There has to be something that really makes me want to feel differently about these. Because I mean the flip is reasonable. These take cards do play well in this style of deck because our units tend to be so big, and so would want to be on the Braum plan here. This Darius is pretty on point with what our deck is trying to pull off. And then Ashe, I just don't think we can take. I don't want any. I do want the Glory Seekers. Don't want Tall Tales. But I think we're kind of okay with this Darius. The way I would like to see kind of the rest of this trial goes, if we take Darius Armored Elephant here, I do want to get rid of all these Icy Yetis, this Wrathful Rider, this Shield Breaker, and then perhaps we just play 3 Darius. Pretty okay with that. Maybe only 2 since his flip isn't what we really want. So I'm kind of open to taking 3 Dariuses or 2 Braums, but I think his cards... Well, I guess his cards aren't like that much better. There is an Armored Elephant with both, but I'm just kind of thinking of him as the big Overwhelm Bruiser that our deck is really looking for here. So I think I'm going to go ahead and take the Darius. Okay, might be better. I have to keep like going back to my old machine and seeing if... oh, hang on, I forgot Elevar Guardian shit. Shit. Let's give that a try. I'm afraid it's going to show ads. Yeah. Forgot my login. I'm going to have to deal with that, but maybe after this game, the reset stuff will be there. Let's see. And then I remembered it seemed like the thing that people complained about with the sound settings or the sound effects. So I think I got that fixed too. Turned it down a little bit. You'll have to give me a little feedback in the comments on how everything sounds. Found that perfect game. There we are. Zoe Callista, sure thing. Like a weird combo. So with this, we're definitely getting into the expensive. I guess we can keep Whirling Death. We don't have a whole lot of early game plays to actually try to be pulling in here. Trifarian is kind of what gets tough. It's like I don't want Trifarian if we don't have any early game plays to go with it. Have to keep on our Zoe removal. Okay, let's look for something this way. Yeah, well, at least found an early play.
Explosives primed.
It seems so loud. Okay, I'm sure that's better now. You should have only made you like adjust your sound like 4 or 5 times this trial. It's not that bad. But here the only awkward thing with leading with the Saboteur is now we can't Whirling Death on 3. So that's, it's not the end of the world, but would like to be able to do it. And then this play's been growing on me more and more. I'm just going to go ahead and make the trade here. We're not going to get anything like spectacular out of this. It turns off a lot of their kill your own units combos. And so what tends to happen now is if they want to play like a something that makes you sacrifice a unit, he's going to have to sacrifice a real unit at this stage. But our mana's real awkward now if we can't find something to do this turn. What's a something? So play a landmark. let us spend this mana. And he's just playing the one Callista, so it's not. Oh, he's just going all in on that flip. Okay. Interesting. He's just like never blocking with Callista. So let's at least get these into combat, see what we can do. Being able to combat trick with the Whirling Death does mean we can maybe take her down next turn. And then she's just bringing back a 4-3 now, which is not the end of the world.
Just leave me alone!
This big chunk damage makes Kato real now as well. So can we just kill here? We can ignore this Callista. So it's we're going to take 9, 10 if we block here. We have something like this.
Your training has failed.
Hold 4. I like it. And we can play Darius, Kato next turn, and then maybe just kill. See if he crumbles this. That would be a little awkward. But I think we're safe. I mean, probably not going to get double Doom Beasted. Okay. Let's see. Let's see if we need to take that statement back. But I mean, we got a ton of damage about to come through here. Right, we mentioned being able to Whirling Death a unit. So what will end up happening here is we're gonna attack like this. He's gonna have to block here. We can Whirling Death whatever he puts in front of the Shield Breaker so that we flip our Darius, and then we have Brothers Bond on both of these should we need it. If he has a removal spell, we're pretty hosed either way. But this is a pretty good chance of success here. Vengeance. So as it stands, We can't play an arena either way. So we need to Whirling Death something, so let's hit the Grenadier. So that will drop us to 1. It's going to be pretty tough for us to kill next turn, or not die next turn. But I mean, that was one of the few ways that he could survive through that. So let's see. As it stands, we can handle his board pretty well. As long as he doesn't have something to deal direct damage to us with. And we have the arena onto Callista play should you not have anything too scary. All right, boys. Hang on to your butt cheeks. Oh, snap. That's great. All right. We just have this humongous open now. We're up in 11 without a block. We're going to boost our archer.
As Noxus wills. I give you muscles.
Right, so now even if he blocks our biggest one down here, we're repping lethal. No matter how he blocks, he's going to have another spell. Nice. So let's see, what do we have here? I want to hang on to our assessors. I feel like we've, kind of successfully built around these, and 2 does feel like a good number. These start to get a little unwieldy if you draw them in multiples, so I'm happy with the 1. I would be okay with getting rid of Shunpo, because it's the one trick that I don't really want, and I do kind of want these Reforges. Our spell count's pretty low. There's also Rhymefang Wolf. These do kind of similar things, and this gives us a way to interact with the wolf. But I'm always pretty happy with these Bull Elnics. They just have so much stats that are tough to deal with. So I think I'm going to get rid of the Shunpo. It just doesn't play particularly well in our deck. I'd rather this be a decisive maneuver or an intimidating roar. Attacking twice isn't what we're really good at. We want to either, lock our opponents out of combat. Take the weapon hilt. So we'll come back to the Lower Guardian. But no, that game reminded me. There's the I watched a documentary on it's called AlphaGo. It was the Google team that put together the AI to play the game Go, and it was like the big miraculous thing that they figured out was that it doesn't matter. I don't know what the point scale works in that game, but in Runeterra you have 20 health, and then it doesn't matter if you end the game at 1 or at 20 or at 50 or 100. You win the game. You win the game. And it's like I can't believe that like no one in Go like ever figured it out. That seems like beyond me that like in a game like that no one would ever realized, oh man, it doesn't matter if I win by 50 points or 100. But it was like that was the big breakthrough that the Google team seemed to have, was that it was so mind-blowing that once they realized you don't actually have to win the game by as most points as possible. You just have to win the game by 1 point. So, very interesting. Interesting to close that game out at 1. It doesn't matter. You just gotta have that 1 health when the game's over. Here we'll trade. We don't have any combos with this. He doesn't know it, so I'm sure he's gonna come in. He'd probably come in even if he did know, if we had combos. I can't imagine you want to just leave your mount and go sitting back. Is this a thing? Is this where you just typo your name and just keep it forever?
Defend the Empire!
Yep. What up, Trapper? What you got for us, friend? Android. Got that generated card in the gym. Make this a 3/3 real quick. Wasn't playing Victor, was he? He was, but he only has 1 copy. He has 2 copies Diana. Interesting. I guess not. Like, whenever it comes to these decks, at least if we're talking about augment decks, I don't actually care about the Victor. I care about having a whole bunch of ballistic bots. This guy will be the kind of the same way.
Pounce! I've licked my wounds too long.
Have to have a big old board.
These stories were true.
I'm willing to bet he's also very intimidated by how shiny our cards are. That's one of those things people don't really take into consideration, but your cards do perform better if they're shiny. So take note. Riot knows that. It's not about just cosmetics. They actually perform better. Boost their confidence when they have those prismatic skins on them. Oh goodness.
A lifetime of innovation.
Doesn't change anything. I mean, I have to imagine, he's going to try to find a way to answer Arcado here, which isn't super easy for this combination of cards to do. I would think his easiest way to do it would be with like card generation on the Android, or of course if he has Combat Trick. But it's pretty tough for this collection of factions to just play 4 attack unit here. Okay. That seems pretty good for the home team.
I'm through waiting.
I want to do it this way. This is the unit he actually wants to block the least, and I feel like this should probably chunk in the most damage, right? We have the choice. What I'd have to assume that he wants to do here is put a block on our Trapper and then a block on Kato, and then this will just chunk the 3 damage in. Whereas if we put it on the Trapper, we don't gain any of that additional damage. I think that's how that math works. I don't know. I'm not a mathematician. That feels right. We want to put the damage on the unit he probably doesn't want to block. I think that makes a non-zero amount of sense to me in my head.
Temperamental as moonlight.
Fear this Kato's not long for the world. He's playing Dusk Battles for... Oh, was it really just a boost this guy won? That seems awful. Okay. We're pretty safe to just play Darius and open attack now. If he has Unspeakable Horror, he needs to do it right now on Kato so we can't spread out his bonus attack. Okay, he should be pretty set this game.
Hot on the trail. We march. Up top.
I know your true heart.
Bringing in those blocks. I mean, we get the Elixir and the Whirling Death, so I think we're pretty safe here. Get +6 damage coming out of our hand, make this up to 24 total. Oh, goodness. Okay. Good game, friend. Okay, and so, I mean, I'm not opposed to actually taking a third Darius. This is the first deck in a long time where I've been pretty okay with taking multiples of him. Just the late game overwhelms that I expect to come out of Freylord just never showed up. Oh man, and then these cards with him. And a second Rhyme Touch Shaman I'm not super stoked about, but with a Harsh Winds, I think that's pretty good. I don't want either of these Braum cards. These are horrible. The Ash cards are much better than the Braum cards, and when the Ash cards have an Icy Yeti and you're calling them good, I think that says quite a bit about how bad these cards are. So 3 Darius it is. I'm on board. Okay. Just keep coming back to this ads thing. I gotta... I'll figure it out eventually. I'm not an internet wizard. I'm just more than mediocre at card games. That's all I got going for me. All right, I think the elixir is weird because then I look at a lot of these early game combat tricks. It's like if we're not going to keep it in our opener, then why are we even playing it? But it just doesn't seem like what I want here. I just want a unit. It seems like a card that plays much better in the mid to late game for us than it does in the early game. I don't want to be getting like 2 for 1 right at the beginning of the game just to trade up a 1 mana.
Victory requires a sharp blade.
It's gonna be big here. If they don't play any cards, then we get the big chunk damage open on him, especially when we don't really want to add either of these. Cool. I'd rather just take the 5 damage than play it slow and try to get an Ice Veil Archer hit. Okay. Lad Ash.
War Mason, reporting for duty.
Are we willing to weapon hilt this down? Probably. I don't want to be dealing with this over multiple turns.
Your path ends here.
If he's got that brittle steel, he is playing Ash, so he's probably... Oh, just a blood for blood? Sure. Takes forever. We've ultimately got a pretty awkward hand here. Alright, let's send him to the arena. What else are we gonna do?
Nothing can stop me.
Not today, bud. You can. There's no combat for you. And a Scorched Earth? Okay. Fine. Awkward, awkward, awkward.
Cut him down.
See, this is the plays I was trying to make light of earlier, where it's like, you know, where the 6 mana spot, we just can't play a 3-drop and nothing else, right? And so that's where your selection of spells gets kind of awkward in these spaces. It's,
Is the hand of Noxus.
you know, if we wanted to say play a Whirling Death in combat, it's ignore that we had spell mana there, but if we wanted to play a Whirling Death in combat to deal with this Trifarian and had to spend 3 mana, and then we just didn't have any other plays we could make, it's so soul crushing for these kind of decks. And so that's why we really place a lot of value on these early game plays like the Elixir of Fire and Elixir of Wrath to kind of help alleviate that.
We march.
But I think our board's about to get a lot better than his. Hopefully gets to draw some cards here soon.
I will unite the Freljord.
And I will conquer it.
He's nowhere near flipping, right? Yeah, she hasn't done anything.
Vanguard.
you can see here, this is why we really want the Overwhelms. But I talk so much more highly about things like Armored Elephant and things like a even Savage Reckoner, Alpha Wild Claws, is if we want to attack next turn with these, you know, we're able to chunk through some Overwhelm damage with the Shield Breaker, then it makes it so much easier to flip our Darius. But just having like a big stats with you know, kind of evasive abilities, not what we want. We want these to have Overwhelm. The problem with the Icy Yeti as well, and what I'm talking about being pretty happy with being able to trade out any amount of these Shield Breakers, Wrathful things, Icy Yetis, and just replace them with any Overwhelm unit. Usgar's not the end of the world, but we probably do have to Harsh Winds this turn. Let's at least go ahead and deal with Usgar.
Winter take you.
And then we'll be looking to make a Brothers Bond play next turn. I mean, we're okay with just drawing 2 here. Seems fine. It seems like one of these turns though where it's like he's gonna Harsh Winds and we're gonna Harsh Winds and they're just gonna kind of cancel out, but he's got a better board than we do, so it kind of just sucks for us. Whoa, still bringing it in. Are you gonna give it plus attack, or are you just doing this to get your other attackers in? Okay. Shenanigans are afoot. Alright, let's add Trapper. I don't want to just be drawing 1 card here that then still leaves us with Harsh Winds mana. Still feel like he's got, well, he only has 1 mana left, so he can't be doing too much in the way of shenanigans. He's not playing Darius, so kind of okay with just taking this hit. Oh, he's coming in with everything now. So the big worry here would be either Brittle Steel or a Elixir of Iron. I think we're just going to prevent the 10 damage. This kind of sucks.
My life for Avarosa. Come back next time. Trolls survive. What did we catch?
Yeah, let's put stats on board. I think we can go ahead and draw 3. We can get the Assessor down, so whenever we inevitably get blown out of this combat, we can hopefully recover a little bit. Real excited with this still, but at least I think their saving grace here is the Trifarian can't block. It's like this is the turn where I want Elixir of Wrath. It's not in those early game turns. I want it on this turn. It's really gonna get a draw 2. Why does he choose Yeti? That's strange.
Only the finest serve.
Who have you brought me?
So I mean, there's just like, if he passes back to us, there's just like 100% chance we get hit with Harsh Winds. Oh, nice. Okay, well, let's bring the Thunder.
On the trail. The Raven will fall.
If we can end this turn with getting like 3 for 2'd, I think that's pretty good for us. We have more cards in hand than him, and we're getting rid of some high value cards if we're able to get the 3 for 2. Thing that looks kind of scary here is if this is a Troll Chant.
Crunch to splinters.
target.
You gonna chant us? No? Okay. Well, I'd want to empty out the board. So I think this is okay. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Don't care about that. So he's gonna Usgar our best unit, which is okay. We could even take him down with Whirling Death. I have to assume he doesn't have combat tricks if his play is just a blood for blood dude back.
Sharpen tusks on ribs.
Icy Yeti, unfortunately, does not do do a whole lot on this board. I was kind of holding it back so we could maybe make a play on an Ash, but both Icy Yeti and Braum are not looking too spectacular against the units that we're facing.
A true Freljordian welcome.
That's awkward. Alright, so this isn't good. This is just going to eat Yeti. We can't deal with this in combat. We can trade off for this Reckless Trifarian if we want. This is not particularly ideal. Ooh. Oh, he's making the greedy play. Get the perfect knowledge since he's out of mana. This works for me. These big boys out of here. Kato? Alright, alright.
Let us get going.
I'm on board with what's happening now. He's gonna play Usgar or something and we're gonna be hurting, but against this board, he's not adding much. Ooh, that's good. Okay.
Who gets tossed?
Kato time. I don't know League of Legends, or is Kato actually the dude, or is he the lady getting thrown? Does that make sense? Is that Shariza? Must be Shariza. What happened? You just do nothing? Okay.
Go time! Show me your best. Ha! This is fun, yes?
Do we just lethal him here? That looks like we're like so close to just lethaling him. I think we can.
Think hard. Think strong.
I guess the question is like, do we want to give Kato Overwhelm? Probably not.
Up top.
Let's give it a turn.
I'll protect
I feel like shenanigans are afoot if he just skipped with all that mana. But like a Harsh Winds is not super relevant here. Nice, nice. I don't know what this guy's doing. If he's just got more like blood for bloods in hand, or what this looks like, but Nox and Guillotine would be kind of awkward here. Ravenous Flock, okay.
To serve the greater
Okay.
good.
That's a good answer for Braum. That's how you make a Wrathful Rider look good.
Noxus!
I wasn't blocking this. Right, we don't want to be losing units here. As it stands, we can hook something with the Rhymefang Wolf. This Wrathful Rider probably just got to block Enraged Yeti, and then we're getting in for 6. So we didn't want that unit falling off board to get rid of his unit that can't block. So it's a nice little bonus for us without him attacking here. He's got no cards. He's gonna have to come up with something good here. Ooh, an Elixir of Wrath. Alright, this game should be over.
I'm through waiting.
To at least get 2 chip damage in as well if he blocks our big boy.
Poor fool.
Cool. Good game, friend. What do we got? I thought that was the final battle picks that just pulled up here. It was like in my head I knew that shouldn't anywhere near be a thing, but that's what I thought happened. And with this, I'm going to pull in the Brittle Steel. Of these early game plays, this is the ideal one and the one that we actually want in the early game. And so I'd like to pick this up. As you can see with some of these hands, it does get kind of awkward in the mid game when we're just trying to slam down all of these units and we can really just play one a turn. And so I do like Bull Elnuck. I think this card's very good. It feels like vanilla stat-wise. 4/5 for 4 is perhaps one of the best ones, because it seems like once you go up to 5, you only get like 10 stats, and then at 6 you only have like 12 stats. And so it seems like Bull Elnuck is, whenever they took the 3 mana when Loyal Badger Bear at 4/4, it was just like too good. It feels like Bull Elnuck is not too good, but it should probably be like a 4/4 or something. But anywho. Long story short, as much as I love him, he's going out of here. We're taking this Brittle Steel. Right. The next one. We're getting there, boys. Right. I guess... I don't even really want to keep any of these weapon hilts. It's strange. I guess we should at least keep one. Lots of these Blood on the Ice style variants today. Wasn't searching for the Scorched Earth, but it could be decent here. I have to assume that when they're playing Ice Darius, they're doing extremely similar things to what we're doing here. But First Blood. Got him. Look at this. Look how much better our trappers are than his.
Patience.
Nothing prismatic.
I'm through waiting.
I don't think people take it as seriously as we do. We aren't even doing it that seriously, but I mean, it doesn't seem like we see too many of the prismatic cards running around.
The trap is set.
Big draw, big draw. Our Yetis are so much better than his too. Weird. These style of decks typically do not want arena battlecasters.
They'll never see it coming.
Everything is on the line.
I was kind of tempted here. Like, I was thinking I could hang on to Weapon Hilt because he's going to have a Yeti coming up and it would let us trade up. But it seems like a reasonable amount of value here just to counterspell this Calling Strike. This is pretty well lined up for a big Kato play as well.
Who gets tossed?
So some kind of shenanigans are afoot, but if all it takes to pull out the shenanigans and get through them is to deal with this arena battlecaster, then we're pretty okay. Sure. The question now is if we want a Wrathful Rider, which I'm pretty okay with. I mean, we can give it Overwhelm and then send 10 damage into his Battlecaster. It's not guaranteed to be good,
Battle by battle.
given that he can Brittle Steel, but he just tapped out, so that does guarantee that this is good. Right, so he's going to be at -2.
Up top.
Cool. Alrighty. Pre-final battles. So here, I'm never getting rid of these trappers. Not getting rid of assessors either. These are both just kind of the core of our deck. I am okay with getting rid of Demolitionist, and the Scar Maiden Reaver is one of the units that we're kind of looking for. The awkward thing with the Reaver is it doesn't have 5 attack. Not like ultra complaining about that, but I would like to, you know, that's kind of our thing when it comes. We want to get these attacks in. We're going to assume they're going to block our Tusk Raiders and our Reavers, but that's going to deal enough trample damage to level up our Darius is kind of what we're going for. But given like the strength of our units, Imperial Demolitionist is just like kind of the worst unit at our bottom end, and we do kind of see these awkward plays to where, you know, we add the Glory Seeker first and then can't play Demolitionist because it just kills our own unit. I think I'm kind of okay with this, because the kind of like end goal I have for these cards is that I want to just fix our top end, and then I think we'll be good. And so I think we can get there with a few trade picks. But, you know, I don't want to be in a spot to where we have to be trading specific top end for other specific top end. I'm kind of okay with this if we, you know, pick up the top end we want and then just trade away the ones we don't want for anything else. And just hopefully with whatever, like 6 trade picks that we're going to get, we don't just completely whiff and just have a monster curve at the end of the day. But we'll see. We'll see how this plays out. There we are. Razgurs. Victor Zoe. Okay. Let's see how those augments look today. So with this, let's look for some cheaper dudes. Didn't find any. But we at least get an answer to Zoe and the Whirling Death. I have to assume probably not going to have to worry about Zoe, but she is pretty scary for a deck like this to where we can't interact with her outside of Whirling Deaths.
We march as one.
We'll block.
Unstoppable force. For the Empire. Keep formation.
Such shiny, so much shiny going on here. And again, same thing. Be nice. Would have been real nice to have a brittle steel at some point on one of those mountain goats, but that's what it is. We didn't, so not a lot you can do about it. This is where it gets painful. We just don't have any plays here. Kind of tempted to just add the archer, but he hasn't really done anything up to this point. If he wants to like double gem assembly bot to hit us for 5, then, you know, kind of okay. Not the end of the world.
Winter is the Freljord's true ruler.
Totes my goats. Triple mountain goat's pretty hard to pull off. It's not bad. And Zoe, sure.
The frost reveals all to me.
She's not particularly scary yet. It's going to be kind of tough for him to play that number of created cards. The thing here is I'm reasonably safe to try to Whirling Death this down. We have to prevent some damage at some point. I don't like get real excited about getting our Rank Tusk Shaman into battle here, but like the things that save him here are pretty few and far between from what these decks typically have. The Targon side of thing there is like the +4 health card. There's this thing. It's not the end of the world, but losing our Rhyme Tusk Shaman would be pretty bad. Alright. Not real stoked about that, but I mean it does at least keep him from getting a star chart. It keeps us from losing our Shaman. Hopefully we can just start adding big board here, and there's not a whole lot he can do about it. Silence? Sure. Okay, I'm just going to play it slow into this thing. We'll kill it with Scorched Earth, but we're just not going to attack this turn. We're just going to have to start building up some board.
You'll make a fine totem. To the eye.
I almost snapped it off just thinking we had all the spell mana. We don't. So we can spend 6. Is this really realistically a board where we just add Darius? Let's see. If he throws off a Bastion here, it's not the end of the world. Okay. This is a bit of a worrisome Zoe now.
Of course I'm ready.
So I don't think we really need to be banking spell mana here. So let's just add Darius
My axe is ready.
and see if we can't get a huge attack in. Like ideally, he's not going to have enough board for the Zoe to be scary enough. He's going to have to do a whole lot of blocking next turn. Ugh. Can at least give it Overwhelm with Kato, but I was really counting on having 3 units that would be able to Overwhelm between this and then whatever we level up with Kato and then Darius flipping on his own. He's going after this. It doesn't level up Zoe. Didn't draw anymore. Doesn't seem like it was that good.
Hot on the train. I give you muscle.
Can I paint you? You cannot hold us.
It's lethal, right? That levels up our Darius up way.
I didn't do anything.
He has to put like a 3 health in front of Tusk Raider. Oh, he's got Hush.
Day becomes night.
Okay.
Time to make colors.
But you don't lose any units here.
We will be free.
And we have a Frostbite in our hand. I think we're okay. Right? What he's ideally going to do from his perspective is just play an elusive next turn and have his whole team have elusive. But we should be able to kind of play around that.
Shining gifts from the sky. A true Freljordian welcome.
Okay, I wanted to go ahead and ace this thing's attack in the case he had some kind of way to burst it up. Just go ahead and get it dealt with. And I don't mean card draw here doesn't seem like particularly good, but
Line up.
I would like to have a
Become Trifarian.
an Overwhelm of some sort. I don't think we can lethal with everything having lifesteal. This is going to be kind of scary.
Of the sun's true light.
I guess we can try to icy. Well, we can only icy Yeti in 2 of them.
What did you
Let's get as big as we can. But it's just I think we just got to put stats on board. There's a pretty good chance that we don't survive anything that he does next turn. That'll at least prevent some of his life gain. The Destroyer, the thing with this is it doesn't have lifesteal. So, I mean, I guess there's not much more we can do than this. Let's at least make this a little to big attack. So these, you, then Kato, this, Darius. Right, and then the idea behind attacks like this is it makes him try to push his lifesteal units down here onto our weaker units. And let's see how this lines up, but it looks like Zoe has to block. Probably not. I mean, she can lifesteal. She's gonna gain a bunch of health. It's like Zoe doesn't matter at this point. Right? Her ability's permanent for the rest of the game. This stuff happens, but I guess you do need units on board for that to matter. Let's go murder mode on his whole board. Alright.
Time is judged. Bright light.
Blind for Noxus.
Alright, I mean that seems good, right? I can't imagine that seems bad.
Those we care for reflect our love.
I'm going to try to do a similar thing here. I'll try to Icy Yeti down any of his units that we can. Then we can add a Trifarian. We need to add Braum here. Cool. Alright. I was not expecting that Zoe to flip, but she got scary real quick. I was kind of glad with how we handled that. Alright, getting prepared for that final battle. So as far as these go, we're not trading out the arena. I am okay with trading out Shieldbreaker for Ancient Yeti. You know, it's one of these late game overwhelms. It's got 5 attack. We can oftentimes play it for like 2 or 3 or 4 mana. Just a much better deal than the Shieldbreaker. So glad to make that one. And with these, don't want the Augur. I want to hang on to our Trick. We're pretty spell light here. And I don't want to keep our late game overwhelm. So we'll skip over this one. The Tusk Raider, such a powerful unit even without Sejuani's. What are our other choices? Found with Rangfang Wolves, don't want it that stairs. Man, we have to trade out such a good one to pick it up though. It's kind of unfortunate. I think we could probably live without it. I think our units are big enough. If we were trading away one of our other big units to pick up a big unit, I think it's okay. But being in this like triple Darius deck, I don't feel like I'm ultra required to pick up something like that. Ugh, that hurts to be passing on those. Oh, but adding in Sejuani would be pretty big. I am okay with that. She's much better than Braum here. That makes me feel a little better about letting the Tusk Raider go. And here, trading out Trifarian for Glory Seeker is good and an upgrade. Not keeping our Trapper's Apprehend is no good. And then Harsh Winds is an upgrade over Brother's Bond. But I would like to get this Trifarian out of our deck. This gives us a little bit more interaction in the early game. The Arena for Kato, that's pretty good. Don't want Apprehend. I think we're gonna pull this one off. Kato's just too good to be letting go. And we don't really have the combos for this to be good. We have 1 Brittle Steel, 1 Icevale Archer, and we have 1 Harsh Winds. I guess technically we have a Sejuani now as well, but you really need a much higher Frostbite count for this arena to be good. Kato's just bonkers all the time. Okay, here with this last one, I think we're going to let this go. I'd rather have the Scorched Earth here than the Flash Freeze, and I want to hang on to our Overwhelms. We don't have the Frostbites to make these Ramfang Wolves or Calling Strikes very good. So that's alright. I mean, we didn't get to trade out all the top end that we wanted to. We just kind of picked up more top end instead of getting rid of the things that we wanted, but I'm still okay with that. Our curve is reasonable enough. We picked up some of the later game cards that we wanted. We just didn't get to you know, there's no opportunity to trade away Wrathful Riders or Icy Yetis, and so if that's the case, it kind of is what it is. But, you know, as we kind of like found ourselves happening frequently in like game ones, where we don't want like to pick up a whole lot of top end, but we kind of get to the end of the draft without having any. It's kind of the opposite here, where we knew what top end we wanted. We were kind of willing to have it with the top end that we didn't, and then we just didn't have an opportunity to trade away the stuff we didn't want. It's kind of the opposite of how we typically draft. I'm curious to see what's going on here. He's playing Braum, Aurelion Soul with Demacia, so I'd assume that this is a Dragon's deck. But
Ooh, that's new.
starting out with a Spacey Sketcher. Curious what he discarded there. See if it gives us a little more. Discarded another Invoke card. Wow, he discarded a Lunari Priestess. That's interesting. He's typically one of your highest value cards. I'm surprised to see her go. But this will be the first time in this trial that we've got to pull off the Quick Attack Challenger combo. Hopefully it keeps us from getting the fucking Grand Plaza. Beautiful. he just picked it up out of a pack. Love a Grand Plaza, let me tell you. There is a world where you think it's like maybe I just want to pass here, playing into the plaza. I don't think that's the case. He's much happier to just be playing units on his turn, right? He doesn't really want to be playing units on our turn because then he doesn't get the value out of this. He just has a reasonable blocker. He really wants to be able to play multiple units on his turn. So I don't feel like that's a good spot to just sit around for do-nothings. That's okay if we're going to lose both of these. We could technically Harsh Winds this attack. Is that worthwhile? Like, we Harsh Winds. What are we doing if we don't Harsh Winds? That's kind of the thing. I was thinking of this. We can at least like Rime Tusk Shaman, then Wrathful Rider next turn, and then we'll eventually just lose our Wrathful Rider to a combat. But at least when that combat rolls around, we should have a Whirling Death. I think that's the way that we're going to have to approach this.
Bring me the calm of an ice-shrouded world.
We are fairly well protected from this plaza with our Harsh Winds Whirling Death. I think this is okay.
To serve the greater good.
Then the struggle that he's going to run into now is like this turn he's going to want to play like Spell Shield Dragon, which is just going to get popped by Rime Tusk Shaman. He really needs to be getting in a spot to where he can get, get wide and minimize the effects of the Shaman. If he's just adding one unit a turn, then she's really going to lock down whatever he's going to be trying to do. Okay.
Strike hard.
I'll take the bait. I don't want to have to Whirling Death here, but if he plays the big combat trick and that's what we have to do, I'm kind of okay with it. Sure.
Explosive prime.
I don't think we're going to get much out of this, but we're not in a spot to where we can really play multiple cards, so might as well just go ahead and put it down. Another Challenger, okay. Draw 2 this turn if we want, then have Whirling Death back up. Seems pretty good to me.
Sharpen the blade, secure the kill.
Really hoping to get a Whirling Death in this turn. Okay. We're going to be a lot wider than him now.
The frost reveals all to me.
Second one. Okay, let's attack and just keep these going. Or would we rather just add Kato? What do we get out of this if we had Kato? Just a bit of chunk damage? I don't like it. I think we want to have 2 shamans.
Strike hard. For glory. Face me. Everything's in place.
Leaves us in a pretty good spot to get an Overwhelm kill next turn. I think.
Justice will be served!
Winter is the Freljord's true ruler.
Okay.
Ice runs in our veins.
Patience.
So it's going to hook a shaman, which is fine. Sure.
Through the ice.
So we're adding Kato.
Time is it?
It's going to weaken this. We're going to hook Radiant with this guy. Say this blocks
Sends
here.
chills
We're not
up
going to be
my
lethal.
spine.
Winter take you!
I think this is okay. Can't even add Aurelion Soul here. We'll just kill it. Yeah. A little on the unfortunate side.
They'll never see it coming.
Shatter them.
Alright, no blessing of Tarchons, please. Please and thank you. Then we're going to play an Assessor here. I do want to be drawing 2 cards. I guess we can get rid of just the smaller one. I was kind of liking the guaranteed point of damage that we can get in, but I don't think it's going to be relevant.
It can't be.
I want to juice up our ways to draw more cards here. We're probably going to have to try to have an open kill next turn. Otherwise, he's going to have flipped Aurelion Souls. But I mean, we might get our opportunity to have some good Whirling Deaths here. It's gonna happen at some point in time where we can play a Whirling Death. Ooh, I think that's good for us. Makes it pretty tough for him to get good attacks, right? If he wants to make challenger attacks on us, he probably can't do it. Or we have 1, 2, 3 card draws. We can still play this in Whirling Death twice, right?
Only the finest serve.
Okay, okay.
Bring Nightbloom. I'll tell a story.
So what I think we can get away with here is if he attacks, we can
Strike for
just
justice!
block one thing to where we're not going to die, and then Whirling Death down the Radiant. That means we do have to use the Wrathful Rider to make that happen, though. Not so worried about losing the Rime Tusk Shaman at this point. Right, because we're just going to be wider than this guy. So what I'm kind of thinking here is, if we haven't messed this up and still have enough mana to do it, we can get the 2-for-1s, or we can actually just we can kill everything. Right? We have 8 mana. We weapon hilt this up to 9 attack. Whirling Death, he's tapped out. It's the important one that keeps him from gaining health. And we get another kill. So he's only going to have 1 blocker now. Yeah, oh yeah.
Hope burns on.
My reputation.
Okay, and then let's
Life
Kato this.
runs in
Well,
our veins.
we're definitely open attacking. I think we probably want to Kato our smallest unit.
How they stare. Go time! Up top! You abject fail.
Nice. Alrighty. Good game, boys. Good game. I love beating the Grand Plaza. F that card. Cool, cool. Nice little 7 winner. It's glad to be back. Had to take a break for a few days. It was a good break. Nothing bad. I was just building a new computer, but getting to jump right back in and jump straight to 7 feels pretty good. So let's jump over and take a peek at this deck real quick. I thought this trial turned out kind of interesting. It actually panned out in a lot of ways what I suspected was going to happen, and what I think we called out in the draft was, we took the Braum, that's fine, whatever. We know what Braum likes to do. He does some kind of like self-damage things. See the Braum and the Avalanche. You don't typically try to do this, but you can. Then the second thing that he tends to do is just play a curve game from turn 3 forward. So you're going to try to do like Mighty Poro into Braum into, I know we picked it up down here, with the 4/5 regenerate Overwhelm guy, Scar Maiden Reaver, right, and then say into like Alpha Wildclaw. You're really trying to pull off this big Overwhelm curve starting from like turn 3 forward. And so, that's kind of what you're doing with Braum. Then we come down and we pick up this Noxcria Arena Darius. And, we know what we're trying to pull off with these now is we're either going to try to build towards the arena. We're going to try to build the Overwhelm deck. That's more of a Sejuani deck, but the Noxus Freylord Overwhelm deck, or we're going to try to build this kind of like Frostbite thing. And so it's like, we know what like cards look good, but we knew none of these like cards were completely going to come together how we wanted, right? If we want to do the Frostbites, we need to kind of be paired with Ash. If we want to do the Overwhelms, we kind of want to be with like Sejuani Darius. If we want to do the Battle Scars kind of thing with Braum, then we need to be paired up with like a Vladimir or a Swain. We didn't get to see, if we want to do like the Braum build arounds, we didn't see Riven. And so, kind of like the color combinations are here for the things that we want to do, or say the faction combinations were here, but the specific card pools we were looking for just didn't show up. And so that was going to lead to, some kind of awkward stuff to where we have to just kind of go with the flow of the draft and piece together what we wanted to do. And as far as that goes, we just kind of pieced into the Trifarian Assessor deck, which is fine. It's not really a deck. It's just, you're being extra careful as far as picking up Yetis. And so we really, when I say picking up Yetis, we're wanting Avarosian Trappers, or we're wanting Yeti Yearlings, the 1-drop unit. And then, that just gives us a good base of 5-drops to really build towards. And then hopefully, if we have kind of like the B side of one of the decks, right? This 5 attacks matters thing isn't a real deck. Hopefully we'll be able to find the ways to, amp up with an arena or kind of pivot into the Overwhelms deck and get a full deck. And so, we're having to kind of start with the B side and then trade into the A side. And I think we kind of navigated this pretty well. And so, if you're drafting this on your own, I don't think there's, like specific deck advice to give out of this particular draft. I don't think this trial had, if you pick up a Braum and have something else and want to specifically draft the Battle Scars deck, we can kind of talk to that. But it's just this Assessor deck isn't a real deck. This is just a good piece and kind of a theme, and it's not a full build around. And so it feels kind of awkward talking about it in that sense. But at least the deck that we were trying to build towards, the Overwhelms deck, which we got pretty close to. As you could see, there was a lot of raw power there with Kato the Arm. There's a lot of power, of course, with a flipped Darius, but if you want to get your Darius to flip, you really need those Overwhelms. You could see those awkward turns to where we were trying to attack with, Reckless Trifarians and Trifarian Shield Breakers, and they don't get any additional damage. our opponent's just putting a 3-drop in front of it and it doesn't do anything. That's the real value in getting your Darius to actually flip, is having all of those overwhelms across the board. Then, you know, you have a unit get in 2 points of chip damage and another unit gets in a point of chip damage, and then on the next turn you can just slam a Darius and get in a couple more points of chip damage and have your flipped attack happen. And so, yeah, as far as this one goes, you know, this is a kind of a Noxus Freylord sub-theme of having Avarosian Trappers and Trifarian Assessors. You know, this is extremely powerful and successful, but not a deck. And so you do need to figure out what you want your actual deck to be and how it can best be supported by this little mini combo, right? Not a full combo, just a mini combo. But nonetheless, that is going to do it for us today. I do think we have some amount of rewards built up. So let's take a click on these and see what we're able to pull down. It seems like the new card should be coming out soon. I know the patch got delayed a week because of the American holidays, but then they did a whole bunch of announcements here recently. They announced the champion sets, champion expansions, where it seems like they're just going to be releasing one champion and not a full set. Seems like that's going to be something happening multiple times a year. And then they also showed the roadmap that has the whatever it looks like the Azir set, if you will, paired up with the expansions, and I think that's just kind of the guide of how things should flow for the next 5 or 6 months. The thing that seems interesting with me is, you know, as the way that they've been, champion, nice, the way that they've been flowing with these expeditions is an expansion or a new set will come out. The first 2 weeks has like the 300% chance to see everything. The next week, I think that gets like halved, or there's like a 50% chance greater to see like the new cards. And then you get a month of, you know, quote unquote normal expedition, which is fine. I get everything with it and it's all fine with me. But now that they're adding in, you know, these champion packs with what's its name? It was Aphelios with this one. Curious how that will play into the mix, if he'll just be kind of, you know, like super easy to see over the next few months, because the thing we run into with Expedition is, you know, the new cards come out, you want to play as the new cards. If you don't get a chance to draft it, that kind of sucks, and so they make them easier to find. So I'm curious if they'll make that one card pool easier to find, or how they plan on approaching that. But I'm sure they'll let us know. They're pretty good about keeping us up to speed on what's happening in the lands of Runeterra. But not a bad weekly chest. We got the expedition and a half worth of dust, along with a champion and a champion wildcard. All looks pretty good to me. But that is going to do it for us today. Hope you did learn how to Yeti and draw some cards a little bit better. You had a good time watching, had an educational moment or two along the way. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.